everybody, and welcome to the November 7th Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, joined by Eric Donovan.
3 races to bring you from opening week at the Big A, or opening weekend, if you will. And we'll start off with November 2nd, the 7th race. This is Saturday, a 12.5 claimer, going 6 furlongs for 3 and up.
They were running the Breeders' Cup out in California, but we were running the meat and potatoes races. And we wanted to look at a couple of horses here, contrasting running styles. The 11, Miscombobulated, is actually going out to lead and thought ran very well when you consider this race kind of fell apart at the end and finished third. And you'll see sort of steadying a little bit and being dragged out of the race, the 1A Force Multiplier.
Yeah, both very different styles here. As you see, the 11 Miscombobulated go to the lead in here and set a pretty honest pace for these, going 22 and 3, 46 and 2, the early fractions here. While the 1A Force Multiplier, who is not quite the better-looking half of the David Jacobson entry that scratched in here, but stayed in. He's getting a decent enough trip, I thought, at this point here, coming from mid-pack down the inside.
Yeah, I mean, Force Multiplier is a horse. It's a discussion. The question you have to ask yourself is, because this is a horse that could have won the race if he had gotten clear. But he also was saving ground the whole way, and it was a race that kind of fell apart a bit. The winner came from 8th. The second horse came from back in 11th, 10th and 11th. And I thought Miscombobulated is a horse that sort of beat the way the race was run, kind of beat the dynamics of the race in holding on very well. You're going to see Force Multiplier down on the rail, on the inside, and I think the rider is doing a very, very good job, Escobar, of saving ground here. But he's certainly going to get in trouble in the stretch, and he's going to gallop out, run by the whole field.
Okay, I'm interested to see, because when I watched this before, I didn't think he ran all that well, but you seem to think he ran a lot better than I did.
No, I'm not saying he ran. I'm saying he's a horse who could have gotten lucky and won. You see, he's trying to get on the outside, and he can't. He's got that horse right on his tail, and he's got a horse in front of him, and he can't get to the outside. He's trying to rally. So you got a horse that's got his momentum going, and he kind of gets stymied behind horses. Now he's still held up behind horses. Now he realizes, I've got no chance. And what's interesting, and Force Multiplier held on reasonably well for third. Maybe it's somewhat of a knock on the others behind him, but we're going to, I'm sorry, whatever, they're Miscombobulated. But as we show them galloping out, look at Force Multiplier, just running by everybody. So you feel almost like he was a powder keg sitting behind horses and Escobar just couldn't find room. Now, the question is, let's say he won this race or he finished a fast closing second. Would you really like him the next time he ran? On the other hand, maybe a lot of people won't see that he could have done better than he did, and he ends up a big price next time, or maybe today was the day. It's the gambler's dilemma. It's the handicapper's dilemma.
That's a tricky read there with this horse. I mean, in the end, I would say the race set up for a horse to come from off the pace, and his late kick that he had stymied in traffic there, and you saw him galloping out so well after the wire there. Might have just been magnified by the fact that the pace was quick and came apart.
Yeah, and I think it also shows the difference between you coming up the rail. It's great to save ground. Obviously, the best trip in the world is saving ground and angling out smoothly. However, it doesn't always work that way. When you look like a horse like Western Grit, he made a huge run from way back. He did it on the far outside. It's interesting. Saving ground is good, but not good when you get yourself all bottled up. You just wonder what could he have done if he had been clear on the outside, and will he run as well next time anyway?
And this is the time of season where you get a lot of ground saving from an apprentice like Manny Esquivel, who's coming from Chicago, and you'll have a bunch of other apprentices too that are pretty much under the assumption to save as much ground as you can anytime possible, and that's how they ride, and it's going to lend themselves to getting stuck in a little bit of traffic there in the stretch.
It's very, very true, especially if the fields are bigger, and the racing has been very competitive around here. People ride bug riders because of weight and ground saving. That's one of the main reasons.
All right, we'll fast forward here to Sunday. The first race was a maiden special weight for 2-year-old fillies going 6 furlongs. We're going to take a look at the Kieran second-time starter in here, Mamduha.
Yeah, I mean, this is a horse that sits a perfect trip in the race, but got far from a perfect trip. As you see, the one horse comes out badly, and both the 2 and 4 interfere with the 4 ends up being taken out of the race, a first-time starter for Chad Brown. But Mamduha, I thought that she was pretty athletic the way she recovered reasonably well from this.
Yeah, this was a very impressive performance, I thought, for Mamduha, who debuted down at Monmouth Park for Kieran McLaughlin. You'll see, she doesn't really take the worst of those 3 horses, but still a few lengths back behind the rest of the pack in here. A horse that I didn't think ran all that well first time out down at Monmouth for Kieran, and I didn't really like in this spot here, but she really proved me wrong.
No, I agree. I wasn't here Sunday, but I agreed with you, Eric. I would have picked against this horse. I didn't see anything special about her debut, and she was 7-5. Now, maybe it's a bit of a criticism of the others. And listen, after the break, she settles into a very, very comfortable trip behind horses here. Having said that trouble at the start was pretty extreme. She got a 75 buyer. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to say if she hadn't had trouble at the start, she might have gotten a buyer in the mid to low 80s, which isn't bad when you think that the Breeders' Cup Juvenile got an 81 buyer speed figure, and the horse who won the stake, Stop Shopping Maria, albeit at a mile, got a 78.
Yeah, there's only a 2-year-old filly making her second start. She's going to wind up on the outside in here and really blow the field away. She's going to win by 4 and quite easily.
Yeah, you know, it's The question you ask yourself is, how much is she improving? You know, how much do you think the start caused her? Obviously, once again, the trip worked out well after that, but I thought it was a promising debut, and it's not as though there are a whole lot of 2-year-old filly superstars out there right now.
No, I agree. I thought this was a big move forward, second time out for this horse here. And I'm not so crazy about the rest of the field in here. I thought it was average.
I agree.
You know, maybe not on the better side of average, but an average field here. Some firsters that I thought looked a little bit better than they actually ended up running here. But nonetheless, Duha, a horse that definitely improved second time out, has good connections, you know, in her corner, and a horse that overcame some trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what they're going to do with her. Are they going to be so aggressive and take a shot and throw her into the demoiselle, or are they going to look for a non-winners of one? We'll see what they do. Kieran's frequently patient with these horses, but if we're going to see with the next horse, he took a horse out of a maiden win and threw it into a stake, and the horse was more than up to the task.
It was indeed, and we're going to take a look at the Nashua now at 1 mile. What a field this was for the Nashua. We had 12 horses going, one of the strongest Nashuas I can remember in recent memory. Noble Moon, the number 6 horse, and number 12, the clearing horse, Cairo Prince, the ones we're looking at.
Yeah, you see Noble Moon take a brief steady and sort of going back into the back of the field. Cairo Prince obviously gets into a nice stalking position, but I think a couple of things were interesting about this, Eric. First of all, Cairo Prince just blows the race open. I mean, he basically collapsed the race with a move around the 3/8 pole and buries the field. And Noble Moon, who had rode a gold rail to victory, wiring a field in his debut, he comes from dead last year, and I thought made a fairly impressive run in this race. And this race got a 90 buyer speed figure. To put it in comparison, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile got an 88.
This was a strong race. There's no doubt about it, and I agree with you. I like that Noble Moon was able to change his style second time out after riding the gold rail at Belmont, able to come from off the pace and be effective with that wide move. And Cairo Prince is up, you know, chasing an honest pace in here, 3 wide up on the outside, and you know, a horse that's going to just prove best in here, make a good run, and you know, go real strong through the stretch, and you know, get a little tired late, but you can say, well, you know, maybe if the jockey would have waited a little bit longer, he wouldn't have given that image coming down the lane.
Yeah, no, I think it was a very impressive. I'm not. Don't look at this race and think, oh, he'll never get a mile and 1/8. I think he's a very, very dangerous horse. And listen, he can use his speed as a weapon, as you see. I mean, he drew well in here, getting post 12, and that worked in his favor. But geez, they're around the 3/8 pole, and you see Noble Moon coming in the picture right now, and he's putting the field away at this point. Noble Moon put in a nice run on the outside, a long, sustained run. Financial Mogul finished second, ran well also. You think he came from 11th, Noble Moon came from 12th, and I think that makes Cairo Prince's performance that much more impressive.
Absolutely. I mean, he's the only one that was up on the pace that really managed to stay around to the finish. I mean, even the 4th place finisher, Intense Holiday, comes from pretty far back. He was 10th early on there, so really the only one that was up there chasing the pace, and he goes on with it and just opens the door here and really runs away. And, you know, the others will kind of catch up to him a little bit late, but, you know, the powerful move that he made at the top of the stretch, you know, if the jock would have waited a little bit more patient, he probably would have won by 5 here.
Yeah, he could have won by a little bit more. He certainly ran very, very well. I think his win is every bit as impressive as it looks, and maybe even a little bit more impressive. And Cairo Prince is a horse we're going to hear from down the road. I mean, these 2-year-old divisions, you see the Breeders' Cup races, and understandably, those are very big wins, but there's a lot more race to be done, whether it's 2-year-olds, maiden races. We're going to see at Aqueduct, because you see some good 2-year-olds. The Demoiselle, the Remsen coming up. They'll go down to Florida. We'll have our races here. A lot going on. I think both those horses for Kieran McLaughlin, a filly and colt, they're 2-year-olds to watch.
I agree with you 100% there, and it's always good to, you know, have these 2-year-old races after the Breeders' Cup, because, I mean, you know, you get a lot of the, you know, the stars of the future that really, you know, some of them are in the Breeders' Cup, but a lot of them kind of develop a little bit later on, and you'll start to see them, you know, either make their debuts or start to get in stakes here this time of year.
Yeah, we will see some very good 2-year-olds at this Aqueduct, especially on the main track as we go through Holiday Fest. Anyway, we can always use your help. Trips and traps at NYRAInc.com.
Thanks for watching.